welcome. We are live and we are officially in the building. Welcome to another episode, another edition of Saturday Night Tech Fights. You guys already know who I am. I am your man, Tech King Mike, aka the Don King of Tech. And guys, we got a banger for you tonight. We got a big one for you tonight. I think this is going to be one for the books. But before I bring everybody in, I want to kind of holler at the chat a little bit, let everybody talk to everybody that's showing up. I see there are 48 people here already. I thank every single one of you guys for being here. And you guys came to see a good show, so let's go ahead and get it rolling. So I'm gonna bring your judges in first. The theme for tonight's fight, everyone, is going to be all up in Apple's business. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So we're going to be talking about things involving Apple and their business practices, and we're going to pretty much just run with it. So I'm gonna bring in the first judge. You guys know her from last week. She came on and kind of took the judging panel by storm with her no bullshit nonsense. And she's pretty much here to make sure that we have a fair fight, make sure we get everything squared away. So y'all welcome Miss Adrian L., your first judge for the evening.
I'm not easily impressed.
We all know this. So I got my next judge. So tonight I have a special guest judge. She has been on Wired Wednesday. You guys have seen her before. I hope that after tonight, at least half of you all will go subscribe to her YouTube channel, even though she doesn't have a video. And she said she's going to be putting a video out after this, and I see her face, so she knows I'm messing with her. But if you don't know who she is the other half of the Gadget Chats podcast and stream. And I will make sure that I put that channel link in the description once we're all said and done tonight. But everybody, welcome the Gadget Goddess, aka the GG.
My feelings from last night's weigh-in.
Oh God, y'all got to stop bringing that energy into the next day. You know, tomorrow's not promised today. Like you gotta. All right. Let me keep on going. All right, guys. So now, I want to give a shout out to our third judge that was going to be here. Zach Talks Tech. He is in the chat right now talking, and Zach is kind of under the weather at the moment. So if you guys want to just holler at Zach and wish him well, we hope he gets better soon. But in his place, we had you've seen him on the show before. He's pretty much come in and slaughtered everybody. And I think he's going to enjoy some of the changes that are being made to the rules, because as of tonight, there will be no more draws on Saturday Night Tech Fight. Somebody will be declared a winner every single time we have a fight. But in the meantime, I'm going to bring in one of the heavyweights, the artist formerly known as Tech Rant, Trenton Marshall. So, Trent, how you doing?
I'm doing good. What's going on?
Nah, man, you know, I can't call it. Y'all already know what it is. So, all right, I got the champ and the challenger backstage. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, we're going to go ahead and call a spade a spade. LB is a businessman, and his shop just closed, which is a part of why we had the fight start tonight at 10 o'clock instead of at 9, to give him the benefit of the doubt to be here. Now, I know last night was a little crazy, and a lot of people are hoping we don't have a replay of last night, and I guarantee you, I don't think we will. But because you've already seen LB's face, you already know who he is. Let me introduce you guys to the challenger. So, guys, this guy has been on YouTube for a long time. If I'm not mistaken, he's on episode 904, possibly, of his you could call it a syndicated show, but we'll just say an epic show. He is the leader of the Toilet Squad. He is the bad boy about tech. You know, I don't want to say the man about tech because that's actually Viper's title, but I call this guy the man about tech because he knows his stuff. He issued this challenge out. LB accepted. You guys know who I'm talking about. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the mighty Journey the Great, aka Jon Prosser.
Yo! I decided Journey the Great is my fighter name. That's what I want.
We will only address you as Journey the Great. Then.
I love how you introed me with we all know LB. We've seen him before, so you introduced me like a stranger.
Well, that's why I had to throw out the leader.
I'm a young and up and comer, and I'm really excited about the opportunity. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I'm thankful for you to be on as well. So LB is in the backstage, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring him in. I'll let him come in and talk his talk when he comes in. So I'm gonna go ahead and add him to the stream. Now, for those of y'all that did not see any of the events this past week, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of round out where we're at right now. So this is how it's gonna go down tonight. Before I announce the questions and before we go knee deep into it, LB has an opportunity tonight to really and truly just kind of blow his business up thanks to Front Page Tech. So on the line tonight, if Jon wins, a new flavor will come out of Popcorn World, whatever Jon titles it, along with a free bag of popcorn every week for a year. However, if LB wins tonight, then he gets 10 spots of 30-second advertising time on Front Page.
Oh yeah, I made that 10, huh?
Yeah, you did. We got it on video. So guys, this is there's a lot on the line. There's a lot going on. So LB, I don't know if you can hear us. I see he's there. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring LB in, and we're gonna go ahead and get this thing going. So LB,
what's good, people?
What's up? What's up? So as y'all can see, LB has been upgraded. So LB, you ready for this? You good? You good?
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Brought in the big guns for this one.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I begin, I'm going to run down the rules for everybody. And I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. The fighters and the judges have been briefed, but if you're new to the show, or if you've seen other episodes and you see that everything is still kind of, woo, we're going to go ahead and finalize and hash everything out right now. And the commissioner, Travis MCP, is in the chat as well. And I think I missed the $20 super chat from Travis. So thank you, good sir. I'll leave that up here. So Travis is the commissioner of the Saturday Night Tech Fight. So if you have any problem with what I'm about to say, go tweet him and blame him for it. So the rules are simple, folks. 5 10-minute rounds, 5 questions. Each fighter, aka debater, will get 2.5 minutes to debate their side of the question. Once they're done, there will be 5 minutes of a free-for-all where they can pretty much argue and do whatever they want. You can talk about each other's mamas, or you can talk about the topic at hand. It doesn't matter to me. Once the bell rings, it's over with. All 3 of the judges will pick one person, and that's it. There will be no tie. There will be no draw at the end of the round. There will only be one person picked. So therefore, we will have a clear winner at the end of the fight. The knockdown rule will go as follows. If someone is knocked down within the first 2 rounds, they will be awarded a chance to get back up with a bonus question. If they are able to get back into the fight by all 3 judges unanimously voting them back in, then they will get 1 point for getting back in the fight. However, if either one of you guys are knocked down 3 times, after the 3rd knockdown, you are completely done. It is a TKO. The fight will be over with. So, anybody have any questions before we get started?
Nope.
All right. And of course, I saw him in the chat. Let me put him up here real quick. You guys saw what happened last weekend. Eric from Easy Computer Solutions, aka the Tech Preacher, is here. So if you don't know, whoever loses, as soon as the loser is announced, they will be booted from the stream. And Eric will come in for the funeral of that fighter. LB, you've been
good. He's gone.
What happened there?
He booted himself out, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Testing it.
Welcome back.
Look, I hit a button on the mouse and I was like, oh God. All right, let's leave that over there. So, like I said, LB, you've been buried twice and you've come back twice. How you feeling tonight, man?
Those were questionable losses.
Those were questionable losses.
They were questionable. The whole match was questionable.
Well,
especially from last week.
Well, like I said, everybody, the rules are set in stone. No more ties moving forward. So, good fight regardless. And to future fighters, to anybody else who decides they want to step in the ring, just know when you come, you got to bring it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So, of course, like I said, tonight's topic is all up in Apple's business.
I just want to say a quick thing.
Yes, sir.
2 quick things, actually.
Oh,
number 1, LB. I'm sorry, man. I just really want popcorn today. That's it.
Jon,
popcorn. What's up?
Jon, this is your conscience. It just got real.
Oh, God.
Okay. Number 2, for my viewers, the rules of the fight, as I've been told, are let's say LB goes first in a round. Whatever he answers, I have to give the opposite. So if you've heard me make an argument on Front Page Tech before, and I say the opposite on this show, it doesn't necessarily mean I believe
Jon, don't defend yourself too early. Let's do this. Let's get down to the brass tacks.
Oh, you're making such a big mistake. Okay, go ahead. Let's do it.
Yeah, LB got that microphone and don't know how to act. I love it. All right. So let's run down the questions for tonight.
Are you going to answer every question with the microphone in your mouth like that?
I would enjoy that.
This is your conscience speaking.
No,
Let's not break this up and delay it.
I'll be.
Let's get this going.
All right.
Maybe with the first question. Let's go.
First question of the night is going to be, is Apple damaging its product reputation with their right to repair practices? That is our first question of the night. John, as the rules of the fight go, you are the challenger, which means you are the starter of the fight. So you will choose your side of the argument, yes or no, and I will start your timer when you're ready.
All right. I'm going with no.
Okay. Your timer starts now.
Okay. I'll make this quick. First of all, I completely believe in right to repair. I totally believe that, you purchase the hardware. It is your hardware to keep, to fix however you want. If you choose to take it to a third-party shop, get third-party hardware installed, third-party screen, whatever, you have the right to do that. I totally believe in that. Where the disconnect comes is the hardware itself doesn't break. The communication between the software and the hardware is what breaks. And that's where it's very, very important to realize that you don't own the hardware. You're renting the hardware effectively. You're just renting the house. And what's going to happen here is when the communication between the software and the hardware breaks, that's Apple's responsibility to keep that experience intact. So I would actually argue that they're not damaging the reputation with their right to repair practices and wanting you to use Applecart instead of a third-party service. In fact, they're protecting their reputation by doing such a thing. Because if you get a third-party whatever installed and it breaks that experience, the average consumer is not going to know that it's because of the third-party equipment. They're going to put it on Apple. So the only way for Apple to control the experience is through software-hardware communication, and it's their right to put Applecart on the stuff and fix it themselves. Apple is not just a hardware company. They're not just a software company. They're a hardware, software, services, experience company. And in order to keep that experience intact, they got to do it. So, no, they are not damaging the reputation with their right to repair practices. They're protecting it. Done.
Okay. All right. So you're going to leave about a minute on the clock. LB, he said no, so you say yes. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. And your time will start now, sir.
I'm going to say Apple is definitely damaging their reputation. Okay. They're making their reputation as being a greedy company for the simple fact that, okay, yes, he's going to say that they're protecting their reputation. You go to quality control, woo, woo, woo. All that jargon is politics. It's politically being politically correct. The problem is it's a cash grab, because if Apple wanted to make it convenient for their customers, Apple could put out directions, okay, to its certified repair agents, all right, where that the customers can get proper equipment from their supply chain, all right. There's so many ways that Apple is twisting this and locking their customers into the money grab game. Okay, this is what this is. This is a way for Apple to profit off their customers. Okay, number one, they say that the iPhones are hard to repair, but I'm surely Apple has taken these iPhones and they've created the system to repair these. They can train other facilities to repair their equipment. Okay, but Apple wants to keep all that money in-house. So Apple is tarnishing their reputation by making themselves look greedy. Okay, they can set up a system for third-party retailers, third-party companies to repair their products so that the customers would have options. Apple wants to bring the customers into their store to spend more money on other products. And then it's questionable if the Genius Bar is even giving Apple or giving Apple's customers the right information. Okay, you have the T2 chip that's questionable. It goes bad. How's anyone going to prove that Apple's telling the truth, that chip is, that something else is not wrong with the computer? They can say water damage. They can make any claim saying that something else is wrong with the computer when it's something that Apple manufactured. But how will we ever know? Because we don't have the right to open up the device to repair it in the first place. Okay, so what do we have in line to keep Apple in check?
All right. You stopped almost right on time. Okay. So 5 minutes, or roughly 6 minutes on the clock, gentlemen. You guys can talk about it.
All right. So I think the best example there would be not even having to open up the device. How many times have you seen somebody get a cheap $3, $2 charger on Amazon? It blows up, catches on fire, and then it's in the news blaming Apple about this.
That happens for every company. That happens with Samsung.
This question isn't about every company. It's
LG.
about Apple's reputation. And you said that customers don't have the right to open up their stuff. They do have the right to open up their stuff. You have the right to open up
and void your warranty.
Exactly, because it's
right. So technically, you don't have the right because no one wants to void their warranty.
You have the right to fix and do whatever you want with the hardware. That does not speak to what you're allowed to do with the software, which is not open for a question like that.
Why are we talking about software?
Because software is what breaks when you mess with the hardware. That's where the communication gets disconnected.
So if a PC board or if a T2 chip goes bad, if a T2 chip goes bad and someone's claiming that it's water damage, how is that customer going to prove that?
You take it in because it shows water damage?
How is it showing water damage? How am I as a customer to believe that you tell me that it's water damage when it's entirely something else? But I can't prove that because I don't have the right to open my device.
The question is not, do you think sometimes people go in and the Genius Bar lies to people?
The question is Apple damaging its reputation with its right to repair?
Right. And you brought up Apple being greedy. Since when does a company not take every opportunity to make money?
Okay.
If they make the product, they control the hardware and software.
Okay, so you're giving them the opportunity, like I said. They're not given the opportunity for it to be repaired anywhere else. Every other company
they are.
Microsoft.
They are giving you the opportunity. You just void your warranty with Apple. You can take it to somebody else as long as you agree to not have support from Apple.
Okay, and then now you don't. So when you don't put the products into the supply chain, okay, it's all a con game. Okay, so if there's certain things that the third party cannot get in the supply chain to repair that device, guess what?
What? Go ahead.
You're up the creek without a paddle.
So okay, LB, let's say that I take my iPhone and I bring it into you. Let's just say you don't have a popcorn shop, you have an iPhone fixer-upper shop. You fix it up, you fuck up my phone. I take it into Apple. I cannot put that responsibility on Apple and say, well, I'm supposed to have
why is Apple not training me as a third party? Okay, why are they not training me as a third party? Supply me with the supply chain, supply me with the equipment.
You're not hired. You can't make a shop and be like, you should definitely train me. I have the right to this. That's like saying that somebody got hired to upload on YouTube. You chose to do it. Get a different fucking job if that's what you want to do.
But once again, them locking down, okay, the supply chain for parts, all right? Whereas I, as a repair person, Louis Grossman talks about this all the time.
Repair other stuff. You have no right to repair somebody else's product for your business.
But it's the consumer's product. They paid for it.
Right, and they can take it to you as long as they're okay with not getting further support from Apple. That's the question here.
Okay, so that's the further support from Apple. How about Apple not putting the equipment and the parts into the supply chain? They're doing that purposely.
It's not their responsibility to supply you when they will do it themselves.
Once again, money grab, so that they can make that money.
What do you want them to? Oh no, sorry, everybody else. You can have all the extra money. Please fix our stuff for us. If they brought it into a Genius Bar, I could be like,
as a consumer,
be like, oh, don't worry.
I've got to believe everything that Apple says that's wrong with my device.
Don't buy an iPhone.
And there's cases where it's proven that Apple has lied. The Genius Bar has lied. Grossman's has lied.
If you don't trust Apple, don't buy their products. Buy from a company you trust. Don't buy from the company and then be like,
in the ecosystem. I've got the computer. I've got the iPhone. I'm locked in the ecosystem.
That's you. They didn't say, "Hey, you were born with this iPhone."
The problem is, are they damaging their reputation?
No.
And yes, the average consumer don't know the details that you know, and the average consumer is going to be upset at the fact that they can't just have their device repaired anywhere.
No, they're not. The average consumer has no idea they can take it to some pop shop. They don't know. They're going to take it to Apple where they know that they'll get the experience they need. That's where they bought the product. That's who they bought the product from.
And that's where Apple sells the warranty. Hey, you better get this warranty.
If I bought popcorn from you, I wouldn't go get it refilled in that same bag from some other fucking popcorn shop. I'd bring it back to you.
And
that's your reputation. If I filled up your popcorn bag with some other fucker's popcorn and it was disgusting, is that hurting your reputation or is it helping it? Don't worry, I'll wait.
You're talking about an edible item, okay, compared to something that can be recycled. You can't recycle popcorn.
This example about reputation. Reputation applies to every business, not just popcorn and cell phones.
You can take an automobile and go take it anywhere and get it fixed. Can you not?
Okay, so
and you void the warranty, Ford, all of them make those parts.
Time out. Did you just say I can't bring up an example of a popcorn shop and a cell phone and then compare a cell phone to a fucking car? Is that what you did?
The car has recyclable parts. Popcorn is not recyclable.
Don't worry. I'll wait for my win this round.
All right. Stop. Okay. All right. Trent. The mighty Thanos. What you got?
I can't believe I'm saying this. LB.
All right.
Mother.
Gigi, who you got?
Jern.
Okay. Adrian, who you got?
So am I to understand that I basically decide the winner of this round?
Yes, you're to understand.
Shocker, I am going with John.
Okay.
You got saved from that knockout, LB.
It wasn't going to be a knockout, John.
All right. Well, that was that round. Let me get the timer back up and ready. So, John won that round. So, you will start the next round as well.
Oh, I will. Okay.
Indeed. So, the next question is going to be, has Apple become overly dependent on their product ecosystem? So, John, what stance are you going to take?
I'm going to go no again.
You're going to go no again? All right. John, your time starts now.
Okay. So, you asked the question, are they too dependent? Are they overly dependent? I would argue no, because while they do rely on their product ecosystem, that is important to the experience of the iPhone, of the Mac, of every product in their product line. That's easy for Apple. They have full control over hardware and software of everything across the board. That part is easy for them, so they don't have to be overly dependent on it. What I would argue, however, is that they are dependent on competition. They're more dependent on competition not being able to create a viable option for an ecosystem. That would be the only dangerous and reckless thing that Apple would be doing. That's the reckless and dangerous thing they're doing when it comes to being too dependent on something, is competition. Because the second, we already see Google, Samsung trying to create their own product ecosystem. They haven't been able to replicate Apple. In fact, everybody's trying to sort of replicate Apple's business model here. And the second that happens, that's when Apple is actually playing a dangerous game and they could get themselves stuck, because they're not dependent on their ecosystem. They're dependent on everyone else not having an ecosystem. They're more dependent on competition and the lack of an ecosystem elsewhere. That's what they're too dependent on. That's what's dangerous for Apple. They aren't overly dependent on their own ecosystem. Done.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and bring you down. So again, you left about a minute and a half on the clock. That's more like, well, it's close to a minute, about a minute and 10 seconds. So LB, he said no, you say yes. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
All right. Time starts now.
I'm just simply going to say this. It's going to be quick. Yes, they're overly dependent on their ecosystem. And what company wouldn't be overly dependent on a great ecosystem? Okay. The ecosystem creates a sense of consistency and ease in the consumer's life. So, what company would not want that? All right. What company would not want to provide their users, their customers, okay, with a system that works? Simple as that.
You done?
So you're gonna leave it there?
Leaving it right there.
All right. So you left 2 minutes on the clock. So that's a total of 8 minutes. So guys, I'm gonna start the timer here and get it set up here. Carry the 1, divide the 2, subtract the 30, and go.
Good. LB, I'm totally with you in the fact that any company would want that. That's the point. That's the exact point I'm making. Any company wants that. That's what every company's trying to do. Apple's not overly dependent on it because it's easy for them. It's not a struggle for them.
Apple's not overly dependent on something that they try to lock people in.
Apple is in control of that.
They introduced a credit card, okay, that you can only get this credit card if you buy their iPhone.
If you're in the ecosystem, correct.
Okay, right. Okay, that's them being overly dependent on their ecosystem. It's not that it's wrong. It's what a company is supposed to do. They want.
Now we're talking about what's wrong and what
they want to lock their customers in to an ecosystem.
The question is not, does Apple have a reputation of locking people into an ecosystem? My argument here.
It says, are they overly dependent on their product ecosystem?
May I talk? Or
what successful company would not want to be over dependent on their product ecosystem?
What successful company wouldn't want to keep their reputation intact and charge them money for repairs to their products? We want to talk about what's greedy.
That's last question.
John, we're talking about this question here.
In the second round. Listen, here's the thing. Yes, every company wants to have an ecosystem. But that is something that Apple has always had. It's grown, it's expanded. They've added different extensions to the ecosystem.
Why do they add to those different extensions?
Because it's a service.
Because they're dependent on it. That's how they make their money.
Listen, they are not
drawing people in, John. That's how they make their money. So yes, the ecosystem is the greatest thing that Apple has.
No, it's actually not.
What is the greatest thing that Apple has then?
Hardware, software integration. That's the greatest thing they have. Yes, they choose to tie it together. But
so what is the ecosystem?
Is not, listen, LB.
I'm curious of what your definition of an ecosystem is.
Okay, you want my answer?
Yes, please.
Okay, LB. The question itself is not, does Apple depend on an ecosystem? Is Apple happy to have an ecosystem? Sunshine and rainbows.
That's not a definition, John.
He asked for the definition of an ecosystem.
He didn't. You did, fucker. May I go? Okay, listen.
This is your conscience speaking, John, and your conscience is saying LeBarron asked for the definition of an ecosystem.
Services, hardware, everything working congruently together.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me that Apple is not overly dependent on those three things that they put together?
No, I'm saying they are dependent. They are not overly dependent or too dependent. So that is not what is make or break for Apple. They could lose that and still be.
So we're slicing words. Because overly dependent means that you're going to pay more attention to it. Are we not?
Dependent and overly dependent are two different things. The question itself says overly dependent. They are not too overly dependent on their ecosystem. What they're more dependent on is the fact that the competition has a lack of options with ecosystem.
You're slicing words again, John.
No, I'm not. I'm fucking reading it for you.
You're slicing words again, John.
Okay, give me an example if I'm slicing words. Go ahead.
Because overly dependent means that they are so engaged in their ecosystem, meaning that they build everything around this ecosystem which is so wonderful.
They
overly dependent
around the products that they make.
It's like a mother being overly protective of their child, John. Would you say most mothers are overly protective of their child?
And they build the ecosystem around the child.
This ecosystem isn't Apple's child, John? Is it not? Is this not their baby? Because the hardware.
You're arguing the opposite thing.
You said what?
You're arguing the opposite thing. You build around the child to protect the child because you're overly dependent on that thing.
Look, I'm saying they're overly dependent.
The ecosystem is just a vehicle to get people to use this stuff. They're not overly dependent on this. It's the other way around. They're overly dependent on their hardware to get people in the ecosystem. They're not overly dependent on the ecosystem itself.
This is your conscience talking. It just got real.
I'm trying to have a debate with LB.
You're
Not my
wiggling,
conscience. My conscience
John.
is fine.
You're trying to wiggle.
I'm not okay. I'm
You're
not wiggling.
squirmy.
Are you gonna provide like a
The
rebuttal? or are you
crowd is
just gonna-
watching you sweat right now, John.
Okay. Are you done? You done?
This is your conscience speaking. You just got in trouble.
I'm done. LB, you can talk for the remainder of the minutes with whatever this is.
You're done, John. LB, you done?
I'm done.
All right. I left 3
Mike,
minutes.
can I say something right quick?
Yes, you can.
For the people in the chat who are saying what's right and what's wrong, they're debating the points. It's not how you personally feel.
Right.
Go ahead.
And as John said at the beginning I'll say it again for him, and I'll say it again for LB. It's a debate. You have to pick a side. So just because they say these things does not mean that is what they personally agree.
Yeah. It's our job to convince you that we believe them.
Exactly. So, all right. So you guys left 3 minutes on the clock. So I'll start in reverse this time. Adrian, what you got?
Did the judges
I'm
get 3 minutes
always
to decide now?
Say what now?
The judges get 3 minutes to decide now. Is that how that works?
No.
I am here for a good mind game trick, so I'm going to roll with LB on this one.
Of course you are.
I said what I said.
A mind game trick and not a winner of a round.
I said what I said.
We heard what you said.
Oh my gosh, you got a gavel. All right, Gigi, what you got?
I'm sorry to let this come out of my mouth, but LB won that round.
Oh my God.
Okay. Trent, it's all on you. Mighty Thanos.
We know his answer.
That was Jern.
What?
All right. So, Trent, I just want to make sure you said that was Jern, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And
All right.
I'm keeping notes, so I'll explain it at the end.
Okay. Yeah, and also for those of y'all that don't know, at the end of the round or at the end of the fight, the judges will explain
Oh, that's cool.
their decisions for each question. So
I like that.
all right. So with that being said, we're going into question number 3. And LB, you won that round. So let me go ahead and get your timer set up here before I put the question up on the board. Let me see here. 2 minutes and 30 seconds is on the clock. So LB, the question is, hold on, Lord Jesus, I just caught a typo. Don't need no typos. Technical difficulties, people. Give me just a second. All right, good. All right. So LB, the third question of the round of the fight night is: are the new Apple services the solution to declining iPhone sales? So let me know your side of the argument that you're going to roll with, and I will start the timer, and you got the show.
I am going to say they are not.
They are not. All right. With that being said, go.
All right, I'm going to say they are not the solution. Any company that puts all their eggs in one basket is going to be ultimately a failing company. Okay, it is not the solution. It's a part of a solution. Okay, there's several things that makes for a successful company: pricing point, quality product, great customer service. Okay, so saying that the services and solutions that the new Apple services is the solution to declining sales, iPhone sales, no, that's not. There's several other things that would play a factor to declining iPhone sales. I mean, you got the smartphone market as a whole. Apple is going to decline like everyone else. Okay, so the services is actually a solution, all right, for the bottom line. The services is a solution for completion of the customer's happiness, all right? They're adding services when it comes to the television, when it comes to the Apple Care, everything else that Apple adds to the picture is the whole solution to declining sales. Okay, but services by themselves is not the solution to declining iPhone sales.
Okay. So You're leaving a minute on the clock. Let me go ahead and bring you out. John, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, you got it. Go.
So there is no counter to this argument. That's number one. And LB in his last this round, he literally just said, it's not all about services. It's all the things together, like customer service, like all that. He listed literal services, actual services. Services don't just stop at Apple TV Plus and Apple Music. Services are the whole thing. Literally anything else but the hardware can be considered a service. So yes. And when we see declining hardware sales, what have we seen from Apple? An increase in services. Their services revenue is what's saving them right now. That is what sort of changed this company. And that's the trajectory right now, is the services. In fact, the hardware, every other brand is trying to replicate Apple's business model, create the hardware. We see Google doing that. Apple's going in the opposite direction and trying to be ahead of themselves because they sort of shot themselves in the foot with their hardware software experience. And now it's way less about the new iPhone, you buying the new iPhone, and more about just making sure you have an iPhone in your pocket so you buy into the services. So the services are, in fact, the solution. The ecosystem that you just argued for in the last round is services. That's exactly what this is. Services are absolutely the one thing that saved this company in terms of declining sales. That is the answer to all the declining sales. When hardware sales go down, software and services go up. That's the only answer to the problem. There's no way to argue that point. The numbers are there. When iPhone sales go down, when hardware sales are down, the software services go up. They've created more. We're even starting to have Apple events dedicated completely to services. Done.
Okay. Both of you guys left a minute on the clock. So that's going to be 7. So let me bring it down. And before I get you guys 7 minutes going, Andrew Edwards with the, I'm not going to subtract the penny. $100 super chat. Thank you, good sir. That was a heavyweight move. Would you like to come be a heavyweight one day? 7 minutes on the clock. You guys.
Oh, we can go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll start it over. Y'all go ahead. Go.
Okay, so Mr. Compromise himself is going to ignore pricing. Are you going to ignore pricing, Mr. Compromise? You know, Apple dropped the $11, $50, and you said they listened. They listened to us. They compromised, right?
Yes.
So that means
why did they do that, LB?
So that means that's pricing. Okay, so it plays a factor. All right, pricing. You can give
the question is not
give all the service
sales.
You can give all the services that you want. Okay, if it's priced way out the box and way too high, guess what? Those services don't mean a thing.
LB, it's because
services alone is not the solution for declining iPhone sales. The 11, the R, the one that you were so right about last year, John, why did that sell so much?
Because
it wasn't because the services around it, it was because of the pricing.
Services. You're not listening to yourself. The answer to the declining sales is not just because they charge $700 for an iPhone. You just said it's not just one thing. It's part of a solution. It's part of them getting an iPhone.
The question was,
they do not
are the new Apple services the solution to declining sales?
And they are.
My statement that they are not by themselves. It takes more than just services, John. It takes you hitting price point. Okay. It takes great hardware. Okay. And it takes services.
But that's not why people are buying the devices. They are willing to take a loss on these devices, $50 less in some cases with the iPhone XR, because to them now, and they're willing to sell older iPhones and not discontinue them because now it doesn't matter what iPhone you buy. They aren't worrying about you buying the new iPhone. They don't care if you have an old iPhone. That's why they continue to support iPhones, because all they want is to make sure the phone in your pocket is an iPhone.
So them starting to eliminate iPhones out the sales racks is them not caring?
You literally have the answers to the test in front of you. When these sales went down, what did Apple do? Services. This is literally
they did that you said yourself they've never done. They dropped the price on the device.
Because it's the answer.
Because it's a combination of things. It's pricing, hardware, and services. It's a unified. The question is,
okay, if we had to measure what was getting Apple more revenue and saving them right now, what made them $1 trillion company, it wouldn't be because they lowered prices of the iPhone. It would be because they're increasing and getting revenue every month. You pay one time.
I'm saying they're doing a combination of the three, John. They're doing it
recurring every month.
Either way, they're doing a combination of the three things. They lowered the price.
That's a service.
Okay,
LP.
they provided the hardware.
Service. Are you going to start twisting words? What does a service mean to you? Go ahead.
Services. The services, John.
Define it. Go ahead.
The services are the warranties. Okay, the services are the Apple TV, things of those things in the ecosystem.
Yes, things of those things, LB. Yes, things of those things. You nailed it.
Okay, so regardless, you're trying to ignore price.
I'm not
trying to ignore hardware.
I'm not ignoring price.
I'm not
ignoring price. I'm saying what is the answer to the revenue decline?
And I'm saying that those are not the ultimate solution. Any businessman knows that you need more than one thing.
LB, the biggest solution is services. That's it.
It's a combination.
No, but okay.
One thing makes the other look better.
The largest percentage of what's saving sales is services.
The question didn't say percentages. It said are Apple services
and yes,
the solution.
The largest solution.
No, it's a combination because if it wasn't a combination, Apple wouldn't have lowered the price of the device. Okay, and they wouldn't have changed the hardware. They wouldn't have added a new camera. They wouldn't have added a wide-angle camera.
You're killing me. What the why? Did you just bring a wide-angle camera in? What are you talking about?
Listen, why did Apple add? Why did they add? Why did they add? Why did they add the wide-angle camera?
They're not getting their sales from that. The price is not where their revenue is coming from. It's because they keep charging you every month for fucking services because you bought the phone. Any of them, any phone.
Right, but from what you're saying, they didn't have to lower the price.
Is the services?
The XR wouldn't have been the top seller last year if pricing wasn't a factor.
The iPhone is the top seller every year. The answer is hey,
the lowest model selling device. Okay, it would not have been the best selling device if price didn't matter.
In front of you, LB, they're doing it right in front of you. Every time sales go down, new services come up. That's what they're doing.
Yes, but it's a combination of pricing, hardware, and services.
LB, they're doing it right in front of your eyes. You can't ignore it. There's no counter to this argument.
All right. If you guys are done, that's a minute left on the clock. So let me know.
I'm done.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So, Gigi, what you got?
I got Jern.
Got Jern. Okay. Adrian, what you got?
John.
Uh-oh. Trent?
John.
All right. We got our first knockout of the night, folks. So, what that means, LB, I hate to say it, but you know how the knockouts go. I will give you 1 minute and 30 seconds to debate a bonus question that you guys have not seen. So before I give this question, I'm going to give some context for the chat behind the questions, just so everybody understands. The questions are generated and based off of things that I've talked to them about. The contestants and the judges have known about these questions for almost several days now. So they know how the questions are. Everyone in the chat, if you have your interpretation of it, you have your interpretation of it. But they've known about it, so they're debating what they were told and what they know about it. So with that being said, the bonus questions are questions that they have not seen. So these are questions that they will not know about. So LB, your question that I'm going to ask you to see if you can get back in the fight is, should Apple drop their Pro titling? So if you need context behind the question, let me know. Otherwise, I will start your minute and a half and you can get the business.
Give me context.
Okay. So the context behind the Pro titling is very simply put, you know, Apple has the MacBook Pro, they have the iMac Pro, they have the iPad Pro, the iPhone 11 Pro, Apple has a lot of pro behind a lot of their products, but some people would argue that they're not pro devices. Some people would. Content creators, different artists, all different
So
types.
we're talking about the entire product line.
We're talking about anything Apple related with pro behind it. Should they drop the title of pro? You choose your argument, yes or no. And yeah, let me know if you're ready, and I'll start the clock.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you going with?
No.
Okay. And let's go.
Why would Apple drop something that works? Okay, they have the Mac Pro, the MacBook Pro, the iMac Pro. Everything that they name Pro is expected to be able to do more. Okay, it separates the higher end of the product line from the base end of the product line. It's just as simple as that. So the Pro, if I go in to buy a MacBook, okay, do I want a MacBook or do I want a MacBook Pro? Do I want the one with all the bells and the whistles and the horsepower and the gigawatts and whatever else that they're going to magically market to the consumer? All right. It separates the two. It unconfuses the consumer. A Pro means more. Simple as that.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. So you got 30 seconds. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we will start with Trenton.
I agree with LB.
Okay. Adrian.
I'll allow it.
Hold on.
I'll allow it.
Do that
I
again.
said what I said. I'll allow it.
All right. Gadget Goddess. It's on you.
Oh, it's probably
No
over.
pressure.
You know I love you, LB, right?
Oh,
The suspense.
that is an awful start.
Right?
Welcome back to the fight, LB.
Okay.
Oh,
I was gonna say you could not have picked a worse way to break that to the man.
all right. So
Good answer, LB.
we are going into the fourth question. So just so everybody's aware and clear, and judges, you guys can kind of nod your heads if we're all on the same page, because I want to make sure. As of now, LB, you are awarded 1 point for getting back in the fight. There are 2 more knockouts left on your side. So if you are knocked out again and again, you will not be able to come back, but you are awarded a point. So that is going to put the match at 6-4 overall. John, you are going into the fourth round leading, which means that you will get to choose your side of the question again. So the question this time is going to be, is the Apple Card good for the average consumer?
Okay. Yeah.
So you're saying yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Your time is starting now.
Okay. So I think you handed this one to me because of the way you worded the question. It's good for the average consumer. It's not the best for the average consumer. It's good for the average consumer, especially because the Apple consumer is the average consumer. And it's all about tying them into the ecosystem. If they're in the ecosystem, we're good to go. They already bought into the hardware. They're already in this. So especially for the average consumer that is part of Apple, in terms of like the application process, it's super simple, super easy to apply, to get approved. And on top of that, especially as an Apple customer, especially as an average consumer, you get cash rewards based on buying more Apple products. It's a smart way to keep you in the ecosystem, to lock you in, to keep your money with them, aside from giving it to them every fucking year. But it's good for the average consumer. It's not the best credit card for the average consumer. But I don't think the average consumer is going in and digging that deep into research in terms of credit cards. I don't think they're comparing all the credit cards all the time to select what might be the best option for them, because there's no completely 100% best option for everybody. But for the average consumer, especially the one that is not going to do all the research, this is so easily accessible to them with an app on their phone that they already have in their pocket, that it's a great business play, because it is good for the average consumer. It's great for the average consumer, in my opinion. Done.
All right. Once again, you left a minute on the clock. LB, are you ready?
Can I have context about good for the average consumer?
Just the question.
Yeah, I can't really give you too much context on this. It's you know, the Apple Card is a credit card, and we know the things that come behind the Apple Card. So John chose his side, so you're choosing the opposite side. So there's not really too much context I can give on this one. So are you ready?
So I mean, I can't have context on what you mean by good. Well,
no, you can only say no and then say why you said no.
All right.
Also, why am I still on the screen?
Because I'm not. Sorry. Let me bring you down. All right. So he said it was good for the average consumer. You heard his points. That's the context I can give you. So,
all right.
All right. Let's go.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm saying it's not good for the average consumer. All right. And reasons being is interest rates, the cost of buying a product at the end of the day. All right. And the fact that Apple chose to lock this in within the iPhone, not any other device that they make within their ecosystem, but the iPhone in particularly. You have to buy an iPhone in order to use this credit card, which means that you've got to spend money, okay, to borrow money. All right. And then the interest rates that this card goes from 12.9% all the way up to, I think it's something like 23 or 29%. I'm not sure the exact number. It's not good for the average consumer, especially if we define who the average consumer is. Okay. The average consumer, if you're going to go per capita, can't afford the Apple credit card. Point blank. You know, the average consumer, if you're going to go with that, if they buy that card, okay, what else in the Apple ecosystem can they truly afford? Meaning that if they lose their jobs tomorrow, what happens to that credit card if they can't pay? It's the same. It's the same rule for most credit cards, especially for credit cards that I think they said that this credit card is accepting subprime credit. How is that going to be a benefit for the average consumer?
Okay. All right. So sounds like you are done. You're leaving 30 seconds on the clock. So that's going to put you guys at 6.5 minutes. So let me go ahead and make you small again. And you guys are good. Go.
Okay, so you made good arguments, LB, for why people shouldn't get a credit card.
Okay.
All the points you made were the same.
Is this not a credit card?
It's the Apple Card. It's different. If you want to,
what's different from the Apple Card and another credit card?
This is for average consumers. If they're considering a credit card, is the Apple Card a good option for them? Is the Apple Card good for the average consumer? The question is a credit card good for the average consumer?
No, the question is Apple Card good for the average consumer?
You tried to make points against Apple by labeling everything else every other credit card does. You spend money to borrow money.
Why not? Just because you add Apple in front of a card doesn't magically make it any better.
Very specific. It's not, hey, do you believe in credit cards, buddy? That wasn't
just because you add Apple in front of the word card doesn't make it any different.
It's about the whole show has been about Apple. We're not arguing our credit cards.
Okay, so it's the credit card. We're talking about the credit card. Is it good for the average consumer?
It's easier than every other credit card.
Easier to get in debt. Okay, so that's basically what you're telling me. It's easier. So are you telling me it's predatory now?
You are. If you get a credit card, period, that's how credit cards work. This isn't an argument about are credit cards good for little kiddies out there, everybody? No, is the Apple Card good for the average consumer? And yes,
I'm saying the average consumer is supposed to be the majority. If credit cards are not good for the average consumer, then the Apple Card is not going to magically be good for the average consumer.
I love how we were very specific about wording and twisting it, but now the question is very vague and it's about every credit card ever. That's not the case, LB. And just mold it like that.
I'm not molding anything.
good for the
What
average
makes an
consumer,
Apple
yes.
card any different from another credit card other than it's easier for an Apple
Bingo.
user
Thank
to
you.
get it?
Thank you, everybody. I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, but in the basis of it, it is a credit card.
It's easier, making it better for the average consumer.
How is that making it better for the average consumer, making it easier for them to go in debt?
Hey, how are easy things better for consumers? They should want it harder. Man.
And it didn't say better, it said good. Good for the average consumer.
Is
if
it
credit
good for the
cards by
average
nature
consumer?
is
Yes.
not good for the average
Okay,
consumer,
so you agree it's
then
not
an
better,
Apple
it's
card
good.
by nature is not good for the average
said it.
consumer.
You said it. You just brought better into the conversation, which means you're siding with it being good. Not better, not best, but good. Which is the question, bud.
I just said, if credit cards are not good for the average consumer, which you said you agree.
Credit cards are good for the average
Apple
consumer.
card.
Everybody should be.
No. You started off saying you made great.
I'm arguing your point that where you're saying credit cards are bad. That's not the case. I'm not saying credit cards are bad.
No, you started off saying you started off agreeing with me until you found out that you shouldn't have agreed with me.
I said your points saying that credit cards are bad. You can't blanket the statement like that. If you think all credit cards are bad, of course you're not going to think the Apple Card is good. But credit cards are important.
I said for the average consumer.
Credit cards are important for every consumer, mostly the average consumer.
The average consumer doesn't even know how to properly use a credit card.
That's not Apple's responsibility.
Okay, but we're saying, is it good for the average consumer? We didn't say if Apple was doing good.
That's not the question.
We didn't say if Apple was doing good.
Apple Card as a credit card is one of the best, if not the best, easiest to use for the average consumer. Yes, it is good for the average consumer. Done. That's it.
I'm done.
There's no other argument. That's just it. You even said easiest, which means it's good for the average consumer.
All right, so are you guys good?
I'm way good.
All right.
By the way, hey Karina, shout out to my girl in chat. Love you.
Love you, boo boo. How you doing? All right.
I dedicate this victory to you.
All right. So, Gigi, we'll start with you.
This is probably the hardest round I've had to score.
How?
But I'll explain after the fact. I'm giving this one to Jern, but I'll explain after everything's said and done.
Okay. Kurt, what you got? Trent. Oh,
can you hear me?
Yeah,
there you go. I thought you would go.
No, I was damn iPad, but Jesus.
I'm disappointed in you.
LB, Jesus.
Okay.
That was a very confusing round.
What was the confusing part? I feel like the judges have to go through fights and win to be a judge.
No, it's because of the word good and the points that both of you guys made.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we have to answer based on the question, the judges
debate time is over, John. Debate time is over. It's not how this works.
Helping these people, LB. You're the one that argues every week about the rules, so I wouldn't even start. I heard you. I've seen every fight you've been in.
Debate time is over.
All right, Adrian, it's on you.
So this one, in my opinion, was actually a close one. And since I can't explain now, I'll have to explain later. LB.
Oh. Okay.
Interesting, people.
Interesting turn of events. Okay. All right. Well, John, you know the rules of the knockout. So.
Wait, I'm not knocked out.
No, he didn't get knocked out.
He did.
I know the rules of them, but I know I didn't get knocked out also.
Not bad. Not bad.
Do you know the rules of the fight?
Your coffee's strong over there, huh?
Yeah, the coffee is pretty strong. My bad. My bad. I put my tally where it wasn't supposed to be. So y'all make sure you guys got it right because I've had a long day. That's why I'm not a judge. Before anybody says anything in the chat, that is why I'm not a judge. So all right. That means that we are going into the last round. The last question of the night. You guys already know what this one is. I think this is going to be the most interesting one to see because it's It's a perspective question. It's an opinion question, but it's still a yes or no. So with that being said, would Apple still be a $1 trillion company if Steve Jobs was still alive? Context behind this question is I'm not talking about all of the questions. I'm not talking about all of the products and things that have been released since Steve Jobs. I'm talking about Steve Jobs, the man. And I'm asking if they would still be a $1 trillion company if he was still running it and Tim Cook never took over. With that being said, LB, what is your side?
I know. Just made a video about this. You guys trapped me real easy.
Don't say you guys. I'm just here so I don't get fired. LB, what you got?
I love you, John.
I know. They handed you this, bud. Go ahead.
I'm going to say yes.
Oh, you are?
No. I'm sorry. I'm reading the question differently. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I got ahead of myself. I'm getting excited on this one, John, because I want to watch you work your way out of it.
I feel like that should lock you into your answer, but
no, I didn't complete my statement.
I just want to know if you ready, so I can start the timer. Damn it!
All right,
you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
No, Apple would not still be a $1 trillion company if Steve Jobs was still at the helm. Simply being that Steve Jobs, as a wise newscaster once said,
fuck you all.
was too stubborn.
Fuck you all straight to hell. Are you really gonna do this to me, LB? Are you gonna argue with my points? Are you really gonna do this to me? You evil man. My audience is watching. I gotta convince everyone that I wasn't telling the truth. Thank you.
This shows how good you are.
The judges, you all, I hate you so much.
I would argue that Tim Cook has just been babysitting what Steve Jobs has had in place up until this point, and he has made Apple a boatload of money.
I fucking hate you. Oh my god.
You look at the success rate that Apple has had, and that was all under Tim Cook. And Steve Jobs hand-selected Tim Cook.
Oh my god, you guys are the worst. This was totally fucking set up on me. I hate you all.
John, you can't say that because you knew the questions. You can't say that.
I didn't know the judges were gonna fuck me. That's what I didn't know.
Well, I ain't got shit to do with that.
I'm gonna say no. The proof is in the pudding. Tim Cook has done his job.
LB,
and done it well.
You sound like you're done. Are you done?
Yeah.
All right. You're leaving 30 seconds on the clock. So, John, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Go.
You know how in that scene of Game of Thrones where Jon Snow led everybody, he did everything for them, gave them the answers, and they still walked up and stabbed him to death? That's what this is. I'm getting stabbed to death. LB, good answer. I would argue that Steve Jobs changed all the time. And in fact, I would go ahead and argue that the bigger infiltrator in this, in terms of how much money they're making, would be shareholders, especially with Tim Cook. The shareholders have sort of molded Tim Cook into what they wanted him to be. I think they would have done the same with Steve Jobs. As a public company, he would sort of have no choice, or he'd be voted out again like he was already. That it happened before, it could happen again. So I think if Steve was still around, he'd have no choice. He'd have to go along with this. And yeah, Apple's not even a $1 trillion company now. They've gone back down. I think at one point, yeah, they would have hit a market cap of a $1 trillion company. They probably still would have been the first to do it, to hit $1 trillion. The shareholders steer the ship. They would have kicked Steve out or not. If Steve was there and he was forced to do this, yeah, they would have made the same choices. They would have made the same amount of money, had no choice. Apple was already leading the charge in terms of that stuff. When the market needed innovation back in the day, Steve led with innovation. When the market needs compromise and service, especially with all this other competition going on, the landscape's different, and Steve would have had to adapt. And he did that all the time. He adapted all the time. I would have no doubt that he would do it now. The shareholders would still steer the ship, and that's what the shareholders made this company $1 trillion company, not one person by himself. Steve even said himself, it's about the person. It's about all the people you surround yourself with. It's not about Steve Jobs or Tim Cook. So the shareholders still steer the ship. If Steve was around, the shareholders would have still made this $1 trillion company, not Steve Jobs.
Okay. All right. Once again, 30 seconds left. So that's 6 minutes between the two of you guys. So,
John.
Don't do this.
John.
Don't whisper.
Never, ever.
I haven't started yet. Go now.
Ever in your life mention shareholders and Steve Jobs in the same sentence. Steve Jobs would have never catered to the shareholders.
And they would have kicked him out.
He despised the shareholders. The shareholders is what destroyed his company.
And they would have kicked him out again.
And the last time they kicked him out, the company was in bankruptcy.
Yes, but it's if Steve Jobs was still around. It's not asking if he would have been kicked out again. If Steve was still around, that means
can't be a $1 trillion company.
If Steve is
you're
kicked
around, out, you can't bring it to be a $1 trillion company if you've been kicked out.
LB. The question though is will Steve Jobs be kicked out again? If
you brought up the argument that Steve Jobs would have catered to the shareholders
of Apple, he has to listen to the shareholders. He will have listened to them, and they are the ones that steered the ship.
No.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs' legacy is that he didn't listen to the shareholders. That was his legacy. His legacy was he listened to the people. Steve Jobs
is dead and didn't get to see this market.
But his legacy was that he listened to the people. That's what he did.
And the people have spoken. The people are steering the market. The market is not the same as what it used to be. The shareholders have to listen to make this company successful. The shareholders would have steered this company to $1 trillion.
Everybody in the chat, I think all the judges, I think everyone knows that Steve Jobs and shareholders don't go in the same sentence.
Why the chat would consider that, because I made a video about it and you used my points against me. I feel like that shouldn't have been a rule. You should have used your own points, LB.
I know how you feel. I had this done in my last match, but this is the point of debate, being able to argue both sides
and I'm
of
arguing
the argument.
I'm arguing that if Steve Jobs is still alive, he's still at the helm of Apple, he listened to the shareholders. That's the only other option, or he would have been kicked out.
The stubborn guy that tried to
Steve Jobs is still alive.
The stubborn guy that tried to eat juices and berries to repair his cancer. The one that you argued that he killed himself from his stubbornness.
Okay, LB. If you want to get real specific, and you got to let me talk, you can't cut me off.
This is a debate, John.
Would Apple still be $1 trillion if Steve Jobs was still alive? The answer, or the question itself, is not, is Steve Jobs still the CEO of Apple? He's sick. He let go of Apple before he died, LB. Before he died, he was sick.
John,
he gave it to Tim Cook.
This is your conscience.
He gave it to Tim Cook. This is not a question of, is Steve Jobs still leading Apple?
John.
Before Steve Jobs died, if we were on your side, LB, if this was going your way, Steve Jobs would have died, and then it went to Tim Cook. Steve was still alive a year or two before. He gave it to Tim Cook, so Tim Cook still would have been CEO. All your points are still valid, and I still answered the question. So if Steve Jobs is still alive, yes, Apple is still $1 trillion company without Steve Jobs because he's sick. This question was, is Steve Jobs, what if he didn't get sick?
What was the context that he gave?
If Steve Jobs was still alive, not, hey, is Steve Jobs sick anymore? Steve Jobs is still sick, and before he died, he gave it to Tim Cook. He didn't die and then give it to Tim Cook. Tim Cook already had it.
Tim Cook
would have already been $1 trillion company.
He was
Tim
interim.
Cook is still at the helm.
He didn't give him anything.
He wasn't.
He was interim.
Steve Jobs resigned.
Steve Jobs came back.
No, he died. It was not an interim thing. He gave it. He was sick and he gave it to Tim Cook. He wasn't able to fulfill his opportunities and his responsibilities with Apple anymore.
Still be $1 trillion company. Steve Jobs was alive.
Tim Cook would still be CEO. And the question is not if Steve Jobs is still CEO of Apple. That's not the question. Steve Jobs is still alive.
Squirming right now,
and he still gave it to Tim Cook. It's still $1 trillion company.
It's okay, John.
So you still have shareholders.
You'll be able to argue your way up.
You still got shareholders. You still got Tim Cook. Steve is still alive. If we're getting specific about the question, that's what the question says. Steve is still alive, and before Steve Jobs died, it was already his opinion and his option. He gave it to Tim Cook. He hand-selected Tim Cook before he died. He already gave up the company. So it's already Tim Cook's. This is already history. It's written. We can't make this up. It's already Tim Cook's, and Tim Cook made it $1 trillion company with those shareholders. The shareholders, Tim Cook, together, that entire company got together, introduced new things.
Pushing the question into an imaginary situation.
They hit it.
It's not going to help you right now, John.
Steve Jobs is still alive.
This is how it looks. Someone
the
is
biggest
drowning in water.
point of this whole debate right now, this round, is that before Steve Jobs died, he gave it to Tim Cook. Steve Jobs was alive when he gave it to Tim Cook. Which
you are blowing the question out of context,
Tim
John.
Cook is still CEO of Apple. I'm done.
All right, that's a minute left. LB, do you have anything else to say other than John's conscience?
I said my part.
Okay. All right. So with that said, we're gonna start with the judges. I can't see Trent, so I can only imagine what his face looks like. But
I can tell you my answer right now.
Okay, go ahead.
John.
Okay. Adrian.
Last week, we had a conversation on this stream.
Adrian.
Know when to shut up.
Adrian.
You fumbled the bag. Okay,
Adrian.
John, he fumbled the bag.
All right, Adrian. So you're saying John?
Yes.
All right. Gigi.
Thank you.
Knockout.
How the fuck did I fucking convince you of my opposite point?
All right.
LB, you got too cocky.
God.
You got too cocky.
Holy shit. How did I convince you of the opposite argument? This is amazing. This is the best victory of my life. I'll take it. Thank you, judges. All the shit I talked about you earlier, I take it all back.
All right. So
LB, can I tell you, LB, that I love him and I respect him before he gets buried? Because that you were so close.
Well, before we do that, judges, if you guys want to, so the tech preacher is on standby, and he's ready for the funeral. But again, we do have to go through the questions. So we're gonna go back, and we'll start with the first one: is Apple damaging its product reputation with their right to repair practices? So everybody, not all at once. We'll start with Trent. Why did you pick who you picked?
Okay, so the reason why I picked LB is because of what Jern said. And the question is Apple damaging its product reputation with the right to repair practices? When John said if you don't trust, or if you don't trust Apple, then don't buy it, that sowed some seeds of doubt, especially with all the stuff that's going on with Apple right to repair and stuff like that. So not trusting a company does damage their reputation.
You realize I was giving context to LB because he said he didn't trust it.
I get that.
So basically you robbed me of a knockout, Trent.
I did not rob you, dude. I did not rob you.
It's okay. I'm not bitter because I won the fight. I would have been bitter if I lost.
I'm just saying, when you two were going back and forth, and I'm just judging, and I took that into context from what I understood from the question and what you guys are arguing. Right. That part right there is what made my decision for that.
Okay, Gigi.
Durham was clear, concise, to the point. LB's cash grab, he stumbled around like he didn't have the questions in advance, or maybe he just didn't know which side he was going to pick. I don't know, but he was just all over the place that first round.
Okay, Adrian.
Basically the same as Gigi. I felt like if LB had went first on that question, maybe he would have chosen a different side, because he was just really stumbling around, and at some points he kind of contradicted what he was saying, and he started rambling and not making sense. So I don't understand how Trent did that to LB in the first place.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the next question. Has Apple become overly dependent on their product ecosystem? So Adrian, why'd you pick who you picked?
So on this one, I picked LB simply because he was very smart in this round. Same for round 4. he knew that he could not win, and so he started playing mind games, and they started to affect Jon a little bit. You got a little flustered to where
I thought the winner of the round was based off the facts of the answer, not who.
So I'm looking for
mind game.
presentation style, clarity, use of
Oh,
facts and
you
examples,
are.
substance,
Oh, see, I didn't understand the
mental
rules of the fight. I would've-
stamina.
John, you just did the same
rebuttals.
thing to win the last round. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Stop it.
You put me in the fucking corner. I didn't have a choice, LB.
Hey, you fought out like a raccoon. I can't say nothing.
I had to start clawing eyes out, man. As soon as I like peeked down and I saw the question because you had read it, I was like, oh shit, that doesn't say anything about Steve Jobs being the CEO. I was like, that's my in. I'm in.
All right. So Gigi.
I had LB in that round, and basically it was a round that he didn't shoot himself in the foot, and he came back with like the mind games and throwing Jern off his stuff.
Okay. Trent.
The key word in this question is overly dependent, and LB did not provide enough reason to where you could say that Apple has become overly dependent. He only proved dependent, not overly dependent.
Okay. All right. Third question: are the new Apple services a solution to declining iPhone sales? We'll go in the same order. Trent, what you got?
Oh, Lord. John made better points, honestly.
Okay. Sounds very simple to me.
And like John said, LB did list a service.
He listed services. He listed more than one.
Yeah. In fact, the whole my whole game plan with this got wrecked, and I had to go off of everything LB was saying to go against him.
I've done that before.
LB's a tough son of a bitch.
All right, Gigi.
I think this was LB K. I picked Jern on this one. LB kind of KO'd himself by making statements that contradicted themselves.
All right, Adrian.
Same. LB contradicted himself in his very first sentence. At the end in the rebuttal, he came with a point, but I really couldn't go off that point he was making with the rebuttal because he had contradicted that same point, like 2 minutes before. So,
okay. Before I go with the next question, I've made my point to say thank you to everybody for super chats, but since the fight is over with, I can say it now without interrupting anybody. Thank you to Technically T for the super chat, and thank you for the most epic burn of the night. LB, you got ahead of yourself. You talked big stuff to the baddest girl in the club, and you got her home and didn't know what to do with it. So thank you, T, for that. We appreciate it. So let's go with the fourth question. Is the Applecart good for the average consumer? So, Adrian, why did you choose who you chose on this one?
LB was up to his tricks. He knew that he could not argue that point, and he started to affect Jon on his points. And it's kind of like, yes, Jon was making good points, but you cannot let your opponent affect you. You just cannot let them affect you to where you get to the stance of you're screaming, you're cursing. I understand that, but why are you letting him affect you when he don't know what he's talking about?
I'm putting on a show. You think I actually think LB's a fucker and a bitch? No.
Well, I mean, a lot of us do, so.
Don't do that while I'm drinking.
I did not co-sign that, people. I did not co-sign that. Gigi?
I think I picked Jern on this one. I was the only one who did because I don't think there was a reference to like Apple itself. It was just generally credit cards. And we can all say something about credit cards and interest rates.
Okay. Trent?
I picked LB because I felt like he made more points. The one point that John made was that it was easier, but I felt like the point that LB made about it only being available on iPhone and not on any other Apple product was more of a hit.
Okay.
Like if you're in the Apple ecosystem and you're the average consumer and you can only do that on the iPhone, I couldn't. Yeah, so that's where I went with LB on that one.
Okay. All right. So that takes us to the last and final question, which I gotta say, this was the most interesting round to me. I enjoyed the hell out of this. Would Apple
I'm glad one of us did.
Would Apple
People
still
talking
be a
about LB
great
being a
company?
tough fighter. I had to fight myself out of my own points.
And the fact that you did and then knocked him out.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So,
I can be honest now because I already won the fight. I can tell the truth now. I had accepted my defeat going into that round.
oh my.
It was already over.
I think LB had accepted the win in that round.
Yeah,
and
we were
big mistake.
We agreed that time. I accepted. I was like, oh wow, shit. I think I cleanly lost the fourth round though. I think I lost the fourth round. You guys called that?
Yeah.
I think I won the other rounds, but I think I definitely all the way cleanly lost the fourth round to LB, and I knew that halfway in.
Like with this fifth round, LB, if you're going to use somebody's points against them, you have to bury them. All you did was list points from his video, but you did not justify any of those points. It's like you were like, okay, I'm going to use what he said in the video and I secured the bag. No, you fumbled. Ooh, boy, did you fumble the bag.
You know what I did? I fumbled because I was not expecting Jon. I honestly
Jon wasn't expecting Jon to do that.
Look, I was not expecting Jon to cave, and when he caved, it was like it threw me off. It did throw me off because that was the first time that I saw him. I saw like he went paler than what he is now.
I mean, okay, so reputation is a big thing for me. And literally 4 weeks ago, I put out a video, a 12-minute video arguing this question. And then you were like, and then you got to go first. And I was just like, oh, it's over. I have no idea how I wiggled my way out of that.
Well,
here's how you did it, Jon. You read the question.
I did, yes. Well, actually, I listened to LB read it. When I heard him say it, I was like, "Ooh!"
Right. But you still took the question. You made your points in regards to the question. And if you look at the question and you look at the points that LB made, you countered and said, "But hey, if Steve Jobs was still alive, not if he was the CEO."
Yeah, he already gave up the company when he was alive. So
yeah, by you pulling that out, and I never thought someone was going to bring that up. No, because you brought up a good point about him. The thing that did it for me is when you said Steve Jobs gave the company to Tim Cook while he was still alive. Mm-hmm. If Steve Jobs had died, if he had died prior to, then it'd be a totally different thing.
Yeah.
But
thank you, LB, for reading the question for me. I owe that victory to you.
All right. Hey, Gigi.
Yes, sir.
I was just, what was your reasoning behind Jon and the total knockout at the end?
LB shot himself in the damn foot. Like we saw it coming. Once it started, it was like a slow train wreck. We were like, "Oh, here we go again."
Hey, Adrian, you're pretty much shaking your head, so I'm assuming you was on the
every week.
Look, all right.
The chat's cracking me up right now. He's the real winner of the night.
Yeah, technically T is in the chat going in, but I'm not a judge. But LB, I ain't gonna lie to you. As soon as you kind of started getting that smile on your face, I was over there right here. Come on!
I was like, here we go.
I was like, oh, not this again.
It felt, you know what? It felt like the end of the fight because he and I were both laughing. He knew he had to put me down, and we were both laughing, and we both accepted it. And I think that was the mistake. That we both accepted it.
Yeah. Well, look, all right, Jon, I'm gonna congratulate you.
I'm going to congratulate you, dude. I did not even plan for that last question. I was like, we're not even going to get there.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a little bit of migraine right now, but I love how every single person in the chat was talking about how this shit was rigged, and now no one's saying it's rigged. I'm done.
Well, it's a good thing you let off with that. So
we'll just try.
Nobody in the chat. This is the thing. Everybody in the chat got something to say, but I don't see a line of people trying to get up here. That's me personally.
Well, here's the thing. So before I give LB the boot and bring in the tech preacher for the funeral, and of course, LB, you stay backstage, everything, whatever. Here's the thing, folks. we're looking. I'm looking for more people who want to come on and do this. Like everybody has said, there's a lot of people in the chat that say they want to come on, but they never hit me up. So my Twitter is at Tech King Mike. There's no underscores or anything. It's very simple. Mr. Travis MTP, the commissioner, Tana So Lit, one of the judges on the panel, Adrian, Trent, technically T. You can even hit up John if you want. I don't want to say that. John's he's a very important man, but you can hit John if you want. You can hit anybody who's been on here before. If you want to come on, I'm more than willing to have you come on. But you got to come on with energy, and you got to come on and be ready to talk facts. Because I'm not bringing anybody on who's going to just get up here for their 15 minutes on YouTube. It's not going to happen. But I will say this, John, you are now the new heavyweight champion.
Your sweet ass, I am.
Saturday Night Tech Fights with a 1-0 record. So moving forward, the next heavyweight battle.
This is where all the other winners retire, right? So I can just.
You better not retire.
Nah, you gotta beat me to get me out.
All right, so here's the deal. Like John just said, he has to be beaten to be taken out. So here's the thing. We're gonna this is the first fight of a class.
And I'm just gonna say I just beat the toughest fighter you had. So good luck, everybody else.
Oh wow.
LB, high praise. So here's the thing, folks. Like I said, there's two classes to this. We have a welterweight, lightweight, and we have a heavyweight. What determines a lightweight is essentially your social media presence and your YouTube presence. It's not a shot at anybody, but if you're a smaller creator, I'm a smaller creator. I mean, Andrew Edwards, we all know who he is. John, all these creators, we know who they are. But if you're a smaller creator like myself and you want to come on and be the undercard fight or be the fight before a heavyweight battle, like I said, message me. I got no quarrel with anybody coming, but we are working on something. LB is also a sponsor of he's also a sponsor of the channel. So here's the thing. We're working on a battle royale. And essentially what the battle royale is going to be is we're going to open up the floor for anyone in the chat to bid their way on to the show. I'll have a list of questions, and whoever answers that question and wins will stay on to fight the next person who bids their way onto the show. Now, when I say bid, I do mean super chat, but here's the catch. Here's the catch. Whoever wins at the end, essentially whoever is standing at the end of the battle royale, you will not only receive $500 worth of free popcorn from Popcorn World and LB. You might even get a flavor named after John now, but you will also receive a portion of the super chats pot from me. So if you think you got what it takes to come on, you think you can get on here and stand 10 rounds against all these people who say they can get on here and do it, then hey, when the battle royale starts, let me know and we'll make it happen. So with that being said, LB, do you have anything to say before I kick you out and bring in the tech preacher to bury you for a third time? God, he just won't stay down.
Look, all right. Nice fight, John. Thanks for the opportunity. I do want to apologize.
We'll work something out. We got it. You earned it.
All right, everybody. I'm bringing Eric in.
Wait, I'm talking to LB. God damn it.
Look, I do want to apologize to everybody for last night. I got hit with some information that kind of threw me off kilter. So that's the deal. So if everybody that showed up yesterday that was looking for a show, I do apologize because I was not trying to be inconsiderate of everybody's time. But I got hit with some like real life stuff. So I had to deal with that. And all right, please don't nobody challenge me next week on Twitter because LB ain't taking no more fights for a minute.
Yeah, we're not having a fight for several weeks. So if you have an idea for a fight, again, message me and let me know. But the next fight will probably not be until maybe the beginning of November. So with that said, folks, I appreciate all the people in the chat for being here. And if you are still here, get ready for the funeral. Eric, are you ready?
LB, good fight, dude.
All right, thanks, John.
All right.
Mike, by the way, oh, you're good. Bury this man.
LB. Another loss under your belt. Why, LB? Why? why you shoot yourself in the foot every time you get out here. You become a stand-up guy, but all of a sudden, you become dead weight. You resurrected yourself a few times, and all of a sudden, back in the casket you go. I want to give a huge shout out to Jern. He did his thing. But LB, man, another funeral for you, man. Oh, members of the congregation, it's funeral time.
He on the popcorn.
How many times we have to resurrect this guy? Is he down for the count? You gave a good fight.
Oh,
damn it, man. You always open up your mouth and screw yourself over every time. Now, it's off with your head.
Oh, wow. Chop him up this time.
Come on.
Wow.
You did such a good job. God.
10 out of 10.
Shoot yourself in the foot every time. I am the tech preacher, and I got my members on deck. Pall bearers and members. It's time to commence the burial. So everybody bow their heads and say their last goodbyes to LB.
Rest in peace, LB.
Thank you very much.
Spaghetti, never forgetty.
All right.
Holy shit, Eric. By the way, Mike, the reason I did this, the reason I challenged LB, the reason for all of this is because I really like what you're doing. I think it's a lot of fun and I believe in it. So I hope you got some new eyes on you tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming through, John. I really do. I know you're a busy man, but I do appreciate
it's quite all right.
Man, I'm looking forward to having you back on. And
I have a question for John. What is going to be the name of the popcorn?
I don't know yet. I got to talk it over with LB because it has to be family friendly. I wanted like bag of fucks, but I can't do that.
Maybe you could just call it the BOF. The BOF.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Look, LB shaking his head. LB, that's family friendly. B.O.F.
But he's got it. When people ask, what
does it stand for?
Bag of fun.
Honestly,
hey, I'm trying, man.
Honestly,
yeah, clear, I get my own custom popcorn flavor now.
Yeah, so I did. I don't know if everybody who was here now heard, but the stakes of tonight's fight were pretty high. John was willing to give LB 10 spots of advertisement on Front Page Tech, and he unfortunately LB did not claim that. So now LB has the name of flavor of popcorn after him. But
let's be honest, I'm still going to try to sell my flavor of popcorn now. I'm still going to promote that. So
duck flavored quacks. Oh, wow.
So
it's probably going to be taco something.
What I am going to do though is I just dropped a link in the chat. So the name of LB's popcorn company is Popcorn World, and the link in the chat, doingtheworldofflavor.com, is the website for his popcorn. So LB is also opening up another shop soon. So this is all in good fun, but at the same time, hey, if you like popcorn, go to that website and hit him up. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. John, again, I appreciate you for coming on. I thank you very much, sir. Adrian, Gadget Goddess, Trenton Marshall Sr., the artist formerly known as Tech Rant. I'm going to keep on saying that because I love it. I appreciate all three of you guys for your time judging tonight as well. And before I go, again, make sure I want to say this. If you don't know who John is, you should. Front Page Tech. Make sure you go check out Front Page Tech. I see El Jefe usually on.
Put the right link.
Yeah. Okay. I put the wrong link in. My bad. El Jefe is in the chat. He is probably going to be dropping links to everybody.
Adrian, that's a terrible name. That's awful. That's the worst name I've heard all night.
Crosscorn. Yeah. Please don't name it that. Please,
no.
Please. So, Adrian, where can the people find you if they're interested?
Twitter at the Adrian L. You can find me there being sarcastic and petty as usual.
Okay. Gadget Goddess.
Gadgetchats.com. No www.
Okay. And Trenton.
At Trent Marshall Sr.
Okay. So some of you might not know Trenton Marshall Sr. If you don't, like I said, he's the artist formerly known as Tech Rant. But everybody will have a link in the description. So replay people who watch, if you stayed all the way to the end, which I hope you do for the watch time. All the people who are watching to the end, I'll have links for everybody. But with that said, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank everybody for being here. Thank everybody in the chat for coming by. And we are out.
Later, guys.